Hello, welcome to another episode of Nostalgic Nerdery. Today, more tales of daring and high adventure. Dungeons and Dragons recount. Let's see. We're playing a 3.5 campaign. We had basically flavored the party as a circus troupe, and we were getting shipwrecked on this island. We had a character. The race was a Zvart. Probably saying that wrong. But it's basically a small blue goblin with giant orange eyes. He was a sorcerer. He was taking the different powers, the Heart of powers, different elements like Heart of Fire, Heart of Earth. Might have the name slightly wrong, but he was basically going to turn himself into Captain Planet, all the different elemental types and stuff. But he was going to play the ringmaster and the face of the group. We had my character, a GIF. For those who don't know what GIF is, it's a anthropomorphic hippo, high strength value. I was playing the strong man of the troop. We had two dwarves who were brothers. They called themselves Barnum and Bailey. Circus reference there. High energy dwarves, fighters / acrobats. And we had a bard who was basically a stripper for the circus troupe. And we had another character. I don't remember his role that he was taking in the troupe, but I think he was playing an archer type character. So I think he was the trick shooter of the circus troupe. Yeah, he was doing the trick shots and all. Was his fluff? He was an archer build. The bard was, like I said, stripper, jester / stripper. We joked about him being a stripper. More of a jester type character though. Though he did have performed dancing. I think that's why we called him a stripper, because he was performed dancing instead of singing. But anyway, in the campaign, we end up getting a folding ballista. Folding's an enhancement. You can get a little if you fold the item down to a small size. So my strongman has this small package that I can just unfurl into a ballista as needed. One of our most potent attacks was for the dwarves to get on their shields on top of the ballista and hold a chain between them. So I would aim and use the ballista, launch them on their, so they were just being fired off, using their shields to kind of slide on, and they would just chain shot through the air into the targets. They're wearing heavy armor. They ended up getting, they started off with just full plate. And they end up getting like mountain plate, which is a dwarf special armor that's even heavier than full field plate. We ended up playing with that some more. The sorcerer would stand at the end of the ballista. He's short, so firing over his head. But he would basically prep, enlarge, and as I fired them off the ballista, he would enlarge them. So they would become giant dwarves as they spun through the air. And there's rings you can get that let you, basically they store equipment and they instantly swap it out for you. So a quick change. So they would be no armor on the ballista, just on the shields for ease of firing, holding the chain. And they'd get shot off, enlarged, and they'd activate the rings to put the mountain plate on them. So just giant chunks of metal, encased dwarves, spinning through the air, rounding into things that we needed them against. The things we do. The things we do. Alright, let's see. Anyway, so we're journeying. We're on this mountain path that forks. We're discussing which way to go. Rocks start to fall to the left. We can't make up our minds which way to go, but the dwarves want to go to the left, so the rocks start to fall. They charge forward. They don't care. They're heavy armor, high HP. They're just going to go for it. Turns out it's an illusion. So they're just plowing through the illusionary rocks, shields above their head, protect them. They didn't know it was illusions at first. The archer, the sharpshooter, he wants to go that way too, but he fails his savings throw. So he's trying to argue he just saw these two dwarves plow through the rocks and that he should auto pass. Well, he's an elf. He doesn't know anything about dwarves. For all he knows, the dwarves either got killed by the landslide or they're dwarves. He doesn't know what special rock path abilities they might have. He failed his save. He's trying to argue it though, but we go to the right. We meet up later. Continue on. We end up in this hallway. Not really a labyrinth, but a lot of turns in it. And there's a hallway with a door halfway down it. We hear music playing, but we don't know what's going on. We're discussing what to do. My character gets bored. He's a strong man. I grab the archer. I tie a rope around him. I just hurl him down the hallway. He hits, slides, looks into the room. He doesn't like this idea, but he can't really stop me because I have an immense strength and he's an archer, so he has very little strength. I reel him back in. What'd you see? Just some woman playing instrument. Talk to her. Hurl him back down the hallway. He hits, slides. Hi, how's it going? Pull him back. What'd you say? She didn't say anything. Hurl him back down the hallway again. He hits, slides just into the room. The dwarves laughing at the whole thing. Want to just go ahead and see what's up ahead. So they run up ahead. So you got the elf who slides in head first. You got one dwarven head. You got another dwarven head. Then you've got my gif sticking up ahead. It's like in the cartoons with the heads wrapping around the corner. So elf, dwarf, my gif, and then you've got the sorcerer who's flooding. So just little blue goblin head above me. So elf, dwarf, giant hippo head, small blue goblin head. Very much confuses the lady playing her instrument, her lute, lyre, something. Some sort of two-handed string instrument. She was sitting in the chair. Anyway, she ends up being mute, can't talk, so she just kind of motions for us to leave. Turns out, though, her music was keeping a demon suppressed, trapped. But we irritated her enough that she stopped playing to tell us to go down and around the hallway. So we do. We end up having to fight him. Just funny scene though with the heads poking out around the corner. We end up walking further on, and we meet we ran into a Nightwalker, massive Nightwalker that we had to fight. He ends up being an easier fight than anticipated. When we search him, it's not an actual Nightwalker. It's a mechanical construct that looks like a Nightwalker. Has like a little gnome inside the chest plate. Might have been a goblin. Some small race that was there piloting the thing like a mech. It has a power core though that keeps the engine cool. So it's basically a little orb that constantly generates water. Create water constantly when activated. We stow that for later. We end up running into a dragon, and as the dragon goes to breathe, we end up hurling the orb that creates water into his mouth. Basically, the Nightcrawler is basically a steam engine, and this thing's just creating a large amount of water when needed. We throw it in his mouth, and between the fire breath hitting it and the sorcerer casting fire arrow or something to hit it, and then the archer also hitting it, it explodes and takes the dragon's head off. So we end up killing the dragon that way. Let's see. Later, we're running into different elemental-themed temples, and we're meeting elemental incarnations that we have to figure out how to communicate with. Some are fairly easy for us to end up communicating with. The sorcerer has a tongues spell he can do like once a day, but we've like got 3 elementals we got to talk to. He ends up communicating with tongues. Another party member ends up communicating with another one. I don't remember how, but I had to communicate with the earth elemental. Basically, it was a strength elemental. It's more than just the basic 4 Greek elementals we were running through. I have no clue how to talk to this thing. So I basically pull a Full Metal Alchemist and I just flex at him. And it flexes back. So we use our muscle and flexing like the guy in Full Metal Alchemist does. When he's just, he's doing his strongman thing, the other big man does his strongman thing, and they end up being friends in the show. We basically do the same thing, and not real communication, but empathic communication happens. And each time we successfully communicate with the elementals, we get a ring. So we end up collecting rings that give us the various abilities. My ring gave me some pretty nice attacks. The air one had some pretty nice abilities, such as fly and like a wind buffet and some things. The sorcerer who communicated with the water elemental got a ring of basically like create water and control water and some pretty lackluster things. He was quite upset about that, the weakness of that ring compared to the other rings that we had. But yeah. Later, we make our way to we're making our way through a forest, and we come across a large clearing. We enter the clearing, and there is basically a demonic army on one side of it, and a heaven's gate with angels and archons coming through it. We just walked into a place we didn't really want to be. But the archer had the dumb idea to run towards the heavenly host army, bow and arrow drawn and loaded, saying, "I'm on your side, I'm on your side." They basically put it into his running the like blast in front of him, put him hold him in his tracks. The demon general advances on him. He's looking at that. Something happens behind him that he wants to see what's going on with the demon general that's advancing on him. But he fails his spot check and starts to complain. But you mean I just can't do like this to turn and look? It's like, no, that's what the spot check was. You failed to do that. But no, just let me do. No, that's what the spot check told you. You failed to see it, so you did not turn. And you did not see it. Had you passed the spot check, yeah, maybe you would have. But a lot of complaining from him about all that. But we ended up surviving. We all ended up surviving that. In one of the towns, the bar did not make the jokes any easier with him being a stripper. He made a lot. Turns out you can make a lot of money with perform checks. So we had some downtime in town, doing some stuff, and he was dancing on the street, making money. A lot more money than the rest of us made that day, I think, with what little things we were doing. But see, is there anything else from that campaign I want to relate that I can recall? Nothing's coming to mind at the moment. My character ended up, I think, squishing one of the little elemental incarnates. We had found it's a room full of sand, something like moving under the dirt. I had no clue what it was, so I stomp on it. Ended up being one of the elemental incarnations. I broke him. I don't remember if we ever actually ended up fixing him, though. Oh well. There was a chest trap with. There was a platform that we were on, and there were 3 other platforms distant from it, with each one with a chest. Turns out, I think 2 of those were illusions. The platforms were illusions. So we ended up falling down a large chasm. But overall, another fun campaign, minus the complaining. In another campaign, that character actually got himself killed a lot. The archer did. But that's just some people. Some people just don't quite understand what the roles mean when you fail your illusionary test. When you fail your save against an illusion, you believe it. And yeah, you can get some bonuses against it when you see certain things interact, but if it doesn't blatantly reveal that it's an illusion, which the dwarves just running under the rocks wouldn't do since they disappeared. He no longer saw them. So he didn't know what happened. But when you fail your saving throw against illusions, when you fail a spot check, some people just don't understand that that's you failing to do something. You did not turn and see it. Your character did. You don't know what's going on behind you. Your player might. Your character doesn't. So if your character fails his role, he doesn't have the knowledge you have. He doesn't know he should just turn and look at something behind him. The failing spot check was him failing to do that. So any new players out there, please understand that. When your character fails a role, he doesn't have the same knowledge you as the player has. His roles will sometimes dictate what he sees and knows, and that will be different from what you know, because you're the omnipotent narrator. Some of the DM. The DM is more the omnipotent narrator, but you're still removed from the game, looking in, so you're seeing details and things, especially in other rooms that your character's not even in, as something else is happening with another player that your character doesn't know. Your character doesn't know that your buddy in the next room is fixing to get jumped, or did just get jumped, unless you hear him scream. If you fail that hearing, that perception test for hearing, listen check, 3.5 listen check, then you failed to hear him. Your character doesn't know what's going on. So just bear that in mind when you're playing your games. And to avoid those types of situations, you can not split the party. Important information there. But sometimes you have to split the party. So yeah, had a lot of fun that game. Barnum and Bailey were hilarious dwarves. Circus Troupe. In the future, try to fluff your party, not just as adventurers or friends that know each other. Give them a cohesive role, like a circus troupe or a caravan. You know, give them a role that you can. Like my strong man, I was playing kind of the dumb strong man. It's like, boss. I would yell out. I was at the troop master. Boss, what do you want me to do? Boss this, boss that. You know. Thank you. Keep rolling those dice.